you waited for the opportunity that, you know what, I'm going to wait till Ramadan because it's coming. The State of the Union is going to follow or precede Ramadan. I'm going to look like a hero, this American badass, where I go and step to scary Netanyahu and use the idea of 30,000 dead Palestinians, most of which are children, to levy my cause for re-election.
In White Supremacy, you know what I'm saying? Like, Ramadan Mubarak to those who are fasting and celebrating, you know what I'm saying, as we enter into this month with power and grace,
inshallah,
and mercy, even for some of the comments that we have been getting.
God forgives, I don't.
With that being said, to my immediate right,
it's a miracle.
Miracle?
It's your girl Miracle. You know, mashallah Miracle. Just here.
Yes.
Trying to make the world a better place.
It gets harder every day.
It does get harder.
The forces that are working to ruin the world.
They said Shaitan's supposed to be chained up during Ramadan, but man, listen.
Hey, this and for the first time joining us. Officially in the seat. I mean, you've been on the show before.
Yes.
Jasmine. Black Girl Absolute. What's up?
Hey, Jasmine. I'm Black Girl Absolute. I've been described by my friends as their long distance friend in the same city.
Oh, wow.
So I feel like that way on the podcast, that I've been the long distance friend of the podcast.
True.
But yeah, I'm really happy to be here.
From the couch to the seat. Let's do it. And, sir.
The man with the Hemulus checks. Psalm always is delightful. You know, since we're fasting, I forgot to throw a Ramadan splash. Now you get me.
Throw a Ramadan splash.
The Supreme Asiatic Intelligently Divine.
Well, welcome. Yeah. Welcome. You know, we're here.
It starts with a P.
Scarborough's Ayatollah is dope.
Doesn't Psalm start with a P?
Psalm? No, SAWM, the Arabic word for sacrifice and fasting.
Okay.
Yeah. You're thinking like Psalm out of the Bible.
Yes, that's
no, Psalm, like SAWM, the Arabic word.
Teach me something.
Yeah, that's one of the 5 pillars of Islam. Psalm.
One of the miracles. See, look.
Yeah,
you've already checked off.
You've already
your Ramadan
my dawah. Yeah, that's
You're done. You're done. Go get yourself something to drink, brother.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm wild thirsty right now.
I mean, you know, it's the first couple of days.
I've been struggling with my Arabic. Like Mark Lamont Hill posted that meme of the guy mispronounced. I was like, this is me every day. I've been struggling.
It's about the intention, though.
Exactly.
It's about the intention.
I thought you were gonna talk about, you know, maybe Sean King can help you out. Newly,
that's your brother.
New Muslim Sean King. Maybe he can help.
Your brother.
He said Talcom X. Hell no.
Listen, Minister Farrakhan. When
they say Khan
with the
C-O-N. That's hilarious. Osama bin Laden. I mean, yeah, they miracle. But I mean, again, God. Congratulations to Sean King and his wife.
Yeah.
For accepting Islam. It's always anything Sean King does, it leads to the many memes.
Yeah.
And they're all pretty funny, but appreciate the work that he has been doing and raising awareness. And
how does it feel that he is like probably the most famous Muslim on the planet right now?
You
That's
think so?
A take.
Yes.
That's a take.
Is he, though? That's a great question.
As I said, it's a take.
Is he?
How does that...
Honestly, I'm conflicted. I'm not gonna lie to you. Still, like when I seen that, when I pre that on like my timeline, I was like, why, man?
Farouk, now you have there's a Muslim lighter than you. There's a black Muslim.
So there's a whole bunch. There's countries lighter than me, but black Muslims, yeah. I'm gonna say you got all of Sarajevo and Bosnia. You got all them, but yeah.
But
that's hilarious.
We had a return of sorts. This week, right? And the pressure was on, right? People have been asking for a more forceful, a stronger A harder
A jacked up Joe, if you will.
presidential
G.I. Joe.
representation.
G.I. Joe Biden.
Yes.
G.I. Joe Biden has entered the group chat.
Yes. And when Joe stepped on that podium at the State of the Union, he went from Joe Biden to Joe Rilla.
Joe Rilla. That's crazy.
Yeah, Joe. Joe Rilla. Joe Rilla stepped on the podium.
Yo, Joe Rilla is crazy.
Yeah, Joe.
Yeah. Cuban, my shit in layers, ho. Yeah, Joe.
No, you will not.
Step on them GOP with them shell toes.
Yeah, Joe.
Come on, Miracle.
Betting y'all.
You asked us to do raps.
Yo.
You asked us to do
And
raps.
listen, and this
Not
Joe
like
Biden,
that.
when he talking
Not
about
like
Cuban
that.
on Cuban, he talking about Guantanamo Bay. And the illegals that he was referencing.
So you have some clips from Joe Biden at the State of the Union.
Yeah, two clips
yes.
that have been circulating that have shown a tenacity that we
Yes.
have been longing for
Yes.
from the seated president, G.I.
Absolutely.
Joe
we.
Rilla.
Let's go.
I think the country and
Yes.
us on the show, we've been asking for him to show, some type of
a more viral, if you will.
yeah.
I don't know.
Viral is crazy. Viral is crazy. But here we go.
He did do the interview where he's talking about him in jail.
Yeah, man. He said they sex life is popping.
He said, you know what I mean? Like,
It is Ramadan.
He said, from the Oval Office to the bedroom.
Bullying is not allowed.
she says Ramadan. I'm not trying
Bullying
to
is
think
not
those impure
allowed.
thoughts.
Hey, you allowed to
During
have sex with
Ramadan.
your wife at nighttime, innit?
Yes, yes.
So,
Bringing that image up to me is
my
bullying,
God.
and
That
that is haram.
Can you play one of the clips, sir?
I will, yeah.
Let's go. They clapping hard for
What I've
Joe.
done ever since being elected to office, I ask all of you without regard to party to join together and defend democracy. Remember your oath of office is defending against all threats, foreign and domestic.
Okay,
The
Joe.
mirror was right there.
Okay.
Respect free and fair elections, restore trust in our institutions, and make clear political violence has absolutely no place in America, zero place.
Except for when it comes from me.
We must be honest. Your freedom.
And this is
My
him on Roe
God,
versus
what
Wade.
freedom else would you take away? Look, it's a decision to overturn Roe v. Wade. The Supreme Court majority wrote the following, and with all due respect, justices, women are not without electoral power.
He looked at them niggas. They was in the room.
Electoral or political power. You're about to realize just how much you've brought it up.
Oh, okay, Joe. Joe got beast. I'm looking at y'all too.
Yeah.
Y'all can get it too.
Yeah.
About overturning Roe v. Wade have no clue about the power of women. But they found out when reproductive freedom was on the ballot. We won in 2022 and 2020, and we'll win again in 2024.
Okay, I'm coming to you, Miracle.
Jasmine is right here. She is a guest. I
Miracle,
think you can start with
you
the guest. The education.
You
the director
are
of
our
education.
political,
I feel like
our political person, and you're the only
you-
reason many people
Oh,
watch
God.
the show. We turn to you for the seriousness and the breakdown. So, again, we have been feeling like, and it's interesting.
so much French is happening right now.
So much French.
Yes.
What does that mean?
A lot of wees.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm saying we just posted a clip where we were discussing.
Like, how we teach, we say use I statements.
So
I sounded language.
Miracle. A clip was posted from our show, and we were discussing, Biden's strategies not being what they could be.
Mm-hmm.
Now here's Biden. He challenged them in their face. These Republicans. He challenged them on January 6th. He challenged them on political violence. Come on. He stared down the justices and was like, hey, yo, y'all about to see what's going on.
You got to run that back.
You know what I'm saying? So what's up? Isn't this, did he win the night?
For a lot of people, they were happy that he was sprightly and that he was defending his platform in the party.
Yes.
And if you look at the State of the Union as not only a message about where people are going, but the best, biggest re-election springboard.
Yes.
You're looking at the State of the Union to say, can he pull in moderates? Can he basically galvanize the base? And can he get a couple of people from the other side to vote for him, right?
Yes.
So in that idea, yes, it was a win for Biden. He was consistent. He talked about the need for better futures, the hope for better futures, and he talked about some of the issues that were plaguing. So putting the spotlight on the justices, talking about you basically did not think about the power of women.
Yes.
You did not think about how this is going to impact women. And now everyone else you'll see in 2024.
Yeah.
That is true, because there is this whole percolating idea that we are losing rights as a society, particularly as women, because we're in this like Christian fascism
absolutely
overthrow of our government. And so that is a conversation I think we can have later.
Yeah, particularly with Mike Johnson right behind, who's kind of a representation of that Christian fascism, like right in our face.
Right there, the attack on IVF, the attack on the right to work, the attack on education, all of these legislative victories and judicial victories that have pretty much allowed women to leave the home. That's what's under attack. Yeah. So for Biden, I do think that he had that messaging that galvanized people, and so they liked him for that.
Yeah. And again, there wasn't like, there was a slight gaffe. We'll get to that in some of the clips, because he did, in trying to go back and forth with Marjorie Taylor Greene, who had she was full on. She had the Donald Make America Great Again. She had the 2X, the double X Make America Great Again hat. And she had to say her name, which was also kind of fascinating to see this outwardly racist, white supremacist white woman co-opting, again, like they do. We talked about this on the show. They don't do anything original. They just take the stuff from us. And of course, see, her name came out of the death of Sandra Bland. May she rest in power. Mm-hmm. And so it's interesting, even say her name, rest in power, to see these white supremacists taking that language has also been kind of fascinating to see.
Par for the course. They always co-opt our language.
Absolutely, absolutely. Jasmine.
I was going to say, and they take joy in co-opting this language, because it's also part of the trying to enrage people that are already at the center of so many different multi-linking oppressions, that they take joy out of seeing us get upset whenever they co-opt our language.
True.
No, and I'm not as media trained as my esteemed colleague, Miracle.
Just telling her she's better. She's better at it.
It irritates me that specifically Roe versus Wade has been used as this sword of Damocles when it comes to this upcoming election, where it's oh, you have to support our party because this is the last chance you have to get your rights reinstated. And I don't think that our rights should be beholden, because it's Roe versus Wade was revoked during Biden's presidency. And it's what has taken place? You're going to look down the Supreme Court, but what are you actually doing to the Supreme Court to, what is the actual threat to them? There is no threat. Right, you're not going to threaten to expand the court,
particularly if Clarence Thomas is there, just playing in our faces,
he's been
raining money down from billionaires, in our faces as he continues to support Trump. His wife over there helping planning, coups, and he's not even what is it called when you remove yourself? He's not even recusing himself at all. He's no, I'm going to do what they paid me to do.
So it's staring them down. It's that's cool, but what are you actually going to do?
I did have to quickly Google Sword of Damocles, because that was a language that was a little bit far off for me. A situation in which something very bad could happen to them at any time. And you're right. I mean, people have made that a same piece, particularly around Democrats saying when you had power in the Senate, in the Congress, and people said codify Roe v. Wade, you did not do that.
Right.
And you kind of let this happen. Farouk.
So my take on the State of the Union was, I'm a boxer.
Yes.
You look at this as him stealing rounds. He was shoe shining. You know what I mean? He was doing what he could.
What?
It's called shoe shining. So it's
Yeah,
when you throw super fast punches. Sugar Ray Leonard won against Marvin Hagler.
Okay, right.
You throw a whole bunch
That
of
has a
flurry
different-
punches that don't have any like power behind them.
Yeah.
It's just something to win the judges over, win the crowd over,
Yes.
make it look like you're actually doing more than you're doing.
Yes.
And it's just really just superfluous activity for the sake of superfluous activity. And that's the way the State of the Union looked like. Yeah, did he stare the Supreme Court justices down? Okay, great.
Yes.
You postured, but like you ain't gonna fight them niggas. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're not gonna run down on them, Joe. Like, you know what I mean? You had Kamala.
I mean, he might.
He might. You know, he done up corn pop.
He's gonna slow walk down on them.
He done up corn pop, man. But you know, he had Kamala standing behind him and like standing up and clapping and giving like leading a standing ovation, basically like every punchline he said.
Absolutely.
He used a lot of things as talking points that are hot button topics right now that he's been getting raked over the coals for by us specifically and the nation at large for at least the last 6 to 7 months.
Right.
I don't know if they shot him up a vitamin B12 or if they gave him like 7 Monster energy drinks or he had some amphetamine backstage or something. But he came out, you know, the makeup looked good and everything. Like he made sure that he looked strong and aware and cognizant.
He was spry.
I don't know if they had like I don't know if they had like electrodes underneath his jacket to like kind of just jolt him into things.
Said he was a baddie.
Or if he was getting fed lines. But you know, he came out and he looked cognizant.
Joe Baddie? Joe Baddie's another good one. Joe Baddie came to the State of the Union. But again, I think to agree with you, Farouk, like he is somebody that not really a good speaker.
No, and that's why he was quiet. The quietest vice president I've ever seen.
But remember, he had a history of stuttering that he had to overcome. So
Miracle just got triggered.
I'm sorry. I'm just saying
she looked at you like she was about to.
No, this is what Joe Biden has been dealing with. Yeah. So like he's not the greatest speaker. He's had these gaffes and just recently where he talked about
could we actually say, Joe,
Mexico.
Could we actually say to Joe, you speak so well.
But again,
your English is so good, Joe.
In this State of the Union, which is very much a theater show.
Yeah.
And he did a follow-up interview.
Right.
And he also, to me, took this is again one of the issues that we have been particularly in this show harping on Joe Biden about is what looks to us like his real weakness when it comes to Israel, right? That like he's not saying anything, he's just giving more weapons. He's not challenging Netanyahu. And so he did this interview with MSNBC where he talked about what he called his red lines. So Miracle's faces. I'm just here. I'm just to Netanyahu. So did you want to play that? No. Yeah. Let's process this. Do you have that clip ready?
What is your red line with Prime Minister Netanyahu? Do you have a red line? For instance, would invasion of Rafah, which you have urged him not to do, would that be a red line?
His barber needs
a red line, but I'm never going to leave Israel. The defense of Israel is still critical. So there's no red line. I'm going to cut off all weapons so they don't have the Iron Dome to protect them. They don't have. But there's red lines that if he crosses, he cannot have 30,000 more Palestinians dead.
He'll take 29,000, but 30,000.
There's other ways to deal with the trauma caused by Hamas. It's like the first time I went over, I sat with them and I sat with the war cabinet. I said, look, don't make the mistake America made. America made a mistake. We went after bin Laden until we got him. But we shouldn't have gone into Ukraine. I mean, we shouldn't have gone into the whole thing in Iraq and Afghanistan.
Okay.
Wasn't necessary. Wasn't necessary. It just caused more problems in the race than it cured.
So here we go. Again, this was after... VP Kamala Harris called for an immediate ceasefire, although putting a little 6-week caveat on there. Here's Joe Biden saying, hey, here's a red line. We can't have this, kind of senseless civilian death that we've seen in Israel. He's saying, don't go into Rafah, particularly now Ramadan has just started. That's like the place where like people are there. People are there starving right now. You know what I'm saying? As Muslims are fasting around the world. He also put a letter out talking about Ramadan and also talking about 30,000 dead Palestinians, what that means to the Muslim world, how he feels like this is unacceptable. This is a public stance that we haven't seen Mashallah, Miracle.
Miracle, you mind?
Go ahead, please.
Okay, I'll come to you.
He said, don't forget I'm Muslim and Arab, right?
Well,
and,
I just saw your face.
lead.
I just saw your face. Yes. Farouk. You're absolutely right. 100% right, Miracle. Thank you.
This is the astaghfirullah, the fucking definition of too little, too late.
Okay, got you.
Like you're using Ramadan as a prop. You're using all of this. You waited for the opportunity that, you know what, I'm going to wait till Ramadan because it's coming. The State of the Union is going to follow or precede Ramadan. I'm going to look like a hero, this American badass, where I go and step to scary Netanyahu and use the idea of 30,000 dead Palestinians, most of which are children, to levy my cause for re-election. And it's disgusting. And this rhetoric and this pomp and circumstance and posturing has become synonymous with American politics. And this is why the globe over looks at American politics in the way, in the theater, in the farce that it is, because you are having this opportunity right now where you could have said something, 60, I mean,
yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? How many months ago?
Yes.
Right. And Ramadan.
Well, I think we're going on 6 months, right?
Yeah, 6 months. Yes, I don't know why I said 60, but 6 months ago. And Ramadan is just another 4 weeks. And to say that you want a 6-week ceasefire, that's not a ceasefire, bro. That's a pause.
The VP said that. Let me just read you his words.
Go ahead, yeah.
Right? He says, the sacred month is a time for reflection and renewal. This year, it comes in a moment of intense pain. The war in Gaza has inflicted terrible suffering on the Palestinian people. More than 30,000 Palestinians have been killed, most of them civilians, including thousands of children. Some are family members of American Muslims who are deeply grieving their lost loved ones today. Nearly 2 million Palestinians have been displaced by the war.
Right.
Many are in urgent need of food, water, medicine, and shelter. As Muslims gather around the world over in the coming days and weeks to break their fast, the suffering of the Palestinian people will be in the front of minds for many. It is a front of mind for me. Now, again, based on what we haven't heard, this seems like a pivot in language. And I wouldn't necessarily put it only on Ramadan. I also would credit the organizers of the uncommitted.
Yeah.
Particularly
this is
in
all
Minnesota,
tied into
Michigan.
re-election.
Absolutely.
There's no passion or empathy behind this.
But as a group, like we collectively as a group, we're saying we wanted a stronger language, right?
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Can we say like maybe one clap, like?
I mean, but the thing is, like, do you like this is like the Chris Rock joke where the nigga was like, "I take care of my kids." You're supposed to.
Yes,
like,
you're supposed to.
This is what you're supposed to do. You're the president.
1,000%.
You're supposed to be the ally. You're supposed to be the one that's bringing democracy and truth, justice, the American way, and all those things that are back in cereal boxes.
Yes,
right. That sound great, but it took you 6 months and 30,000 estimately, and that's a conservative number.
Yeah.
People, and again, mostly children, to be murdered and bombed and 2 million plus displaced for you to finally say, hey, you know what? We're not going to take another 30K. Any number under that is substantial. As long as you put a pause in this for 6 weeks, let them fast and all that.
Yes.
And then you can kind of go back and do your thing. And then, we'll be here again.
So I'm going to come to you, Miracle, and then to you, Jazz. He also says in this letter, right? He also says that he says while we get more life-saving aid to Gaza, the United States will continue working nonstop.
That's a terrible choice of words.
What? Life-saving aid.
That is a terrible choice of words.
Working nonstop to establish an immediate and sustained ceasefire for at least 6 weeks. It's got to put that 6 weeks in there. Wait, hold on, Miracle. Hold on. As part of a deal that releases hostages. And we will continue building towards a long-term future of stability, security, and peace that includes a two-state solution to ensure Palestinian and Israelis have equal measures of freedom, dignity, security, and prosperity. That's the only path to an enduring peace. So then he's also saying, advocating for Palestinians to have their own state. This is something also that Netanyahu is on record saying he does not want. Is that something that says
I forget. I think it's either 4 or 5 times the State Department has vetoed a ceasefire resolution at the UN. So when he says we are working on a ceasefire, I do believe that a lot of people are like, well, you kind of stopped all the ones beforehand.
You're 1,000%
so it doesn't
right.
really work, the first thing. The second thing is this is about Ramadan.
Yes.
Because this is the largest gathering consistently of Muslims for the next 30 days.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So while people were able to be distracted with work and career and maybe didn't feel comfortable going out and protesting, now for every day for the next 30 days, they're going to be getting information about what's going on in Reza and what's going on in Palestine.
Yes.
This is going to be the most intentional organizing that you have seen for this region that has ever happened within the past 5 years. And he knows that, and he's trying to get ahead of it.
True.
The third thing is all of this that he said, he could have said a month ago, 2 months ago, 3 months ago. And I know we've talked about bringing someone on a show here in Pennsylvania. We forget that there are anti-Palestinian hate crimes that happen.
Right.
There are Palestinian people who were attacked.
Yeah.
And when this was happening, he could have came out and said it then. And so what people are like, yes, thank you now for seeing our humanity.
Yes.
But if you're saying see our humanity just for 6 weeks and then we're going to start the killing again, it doesn't make sense.
True.
The second thing, well, whatever. The third or fourth thing, I forgot where I am in the bullet points, is that he's already given Israel all of the weapons.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
He's already giving them all of the weapons, all of their surveillance. So while he can say don't invade Rafah, there is nothing precluding Israel from doing that. As Netanyahu has said, I'm going to invade Rafah, has already been bombing in that area. And so, yes, he's saying like all the good things, which we love the window dressing, but his actions are not being followed up. And this is what he has done since October 7th, where he would say all these cool things, all these sweet things, and then been like, but I'm not conditioning aid. I'm not going to tell people to stop. There are no red lines. And I want people to just remember, red lines are requirements of things you cannot do. Right. And he, through his administration, said there are no red lines.
Well, no. He just said Rafah was a red line. But in the past, there was never no red line.
Right, yeah.
There was always no condition.
He's also said while Rafah is a red line, he will still, outside of the Iron Dome, which people can understand, the Iron Dome protects the missiles.
Absolutely.
He said he's still going to do additional other aid. Now, mind you, we already have aid put into our budget, I think until like 2028. Right? And he's still saying he's going to do more. He's gone around. He's given them extra weapons without congressional approval.
True.
The shellings, everything you've seen from the Flower Massacre happened because of that additional aid we've given with no requirements. And so I think that Biden is starting to realize that because of the uncommitted vote in Michigan, that there are a lot of people who aren't going to be like, okay, this is just another Iraq, this is another Afghanistan.
Right.
People are really saying enough is enough, and how we deal with, whether it's Haiti, whether it's the Congo, whether it's Sudan, how we deal with times of violence and crisis cannot be just dumping massive amounts of weapons in regions and then just leaving.
Particularly not in the hands of somebody like Benjamin Netanyahu, who's basically been on record as saying he's going to use those weapons to continue to kill Palestinians and also, he's also killed Israeli hostages.
Yeah.
Like willingly in some cases in order to kill more Palestinians. And so it's clear that, Benjamin Netanyahu and his war council they don't care about the civilian deaths, the children's death. They don't care about children starving. They're took all the hospitals down. So obviously like people getting care. So now I think, and I'm coming to you, Jazz, now, for Biden, as Netanyahu comes out the next day, maybe not even 24 hours and says, I'm going to defy this red line. We're going into Rafah, whether you like it or not. And so now it's like,
Should I do it?
I mean, that's real. Yeah.
This is him.
I'm going to do it.
And I think like Netanyahu also probably, it was Donald Trump that moved the embassy to Jerusalem. Mm-hmm. And so there's probably him and his war council would probably prefer a Donald Trump.
Absolutely.
So I'm coming to you, Jazz, because, Biden also was caught on a hot mic at the State of the Union saying that he needed to have a come to Jesus moment with Netanyahu. is now the ball in Biden's court and VP Harris's court and his administration to do something like to prevent Netanyahu from going into Rafah. Is this like some type of coalition of countries? You know, according to this article in Politico, Germany's foreign minister is on record saying that going into Rafah would be a quote, a humanitarian catastrophe, which we already have. What does he do now?
I think at this point, because saying out loud, like, we're not going to, and obviously, like, the Iron Dome, I think funding that is necessary, but talking about there's not going to be any red lines for defensive funding. Also, like, how are we making sure that funding is not going, because a lot of that funds for defensive weapons have been used for offensive purposes,
Absolutely.
have been used for maintaining the occupation, for not only for Gaza, but also in the West Bank.
Yeah.
And so if Netanyahu is being loud and saying there will be no red lines, we're not stopping this offensive.
Yes.
I think he compared what's happening in Rafah to like in Germany, like, oh, we're not going to leave the last quarter of Nazis, like making these very like inflammatory statements. I think at this point you have to realize, again, this person like Netanyahu does not, he honestly, and like you said, he benefits more from Trump being in office. And I think Biden has to take a look at, it's not only people who are Arab or who are Muslim that are getting upset about this. This is an entire country, and it's going into even moderate bases of the Democratic Party. And I think it was like 80%, if I was, that are supporting of a permanent ceasefire.
And many of those people are also Jewish, right?
Exactly.
You just had a Jewish man who directed this film about Auschwitz that won an Oscar, that had a very impassioned speech about what we need to do to help Palestinians in this moment. So there have been a lot of Jewish people being very vocal about, also wanting peace, also wanting a permanent ceasefire in this situation. Netanyahu is already saying no two states. So I think like it really, and so to me, this is almost that moment where we're going to see, like, was this just a music video, or are you really on some Joe Rilla? This is where we need Joe Rilla right now. You know what I'm saying? And I think you can't, like, if you were to do some multi-country coalition to say, like, you can't do this and stop this, I think the world would appreciate that. To me, like, the more you isolate somebody like Netanyahu, who to me is somebody that obviously does not care about humanitarian needs at all. I mean, if you're still talking about going into Rafah during Ramadan, you're actually creating a situation where it's more unsafe to Jewish people than anything else you could do. So I don't know where we are. The wild part, as complex as this is, the Republicans did a reply to the State of the Union.
Clap back.
And it was almost as if they said, you know what? We don't think Biden looked good enough. Let's get one of the worst people to do this GOP response. So they got this senator from Alabama. What's her name? Katie Britt or Kathy Britt. It might as well have been Karen Britt the way she went out there, because she went, they put her in the kitchen. I mean, how Republican?
She said she was, let her cook. They said, let her cook.
They're like, if it was not clear by now.
That's what they said.
So do you have a little bit of a clip to show how impassioned she was? Our Karen of the week.
I thought the green was an interesting choice, but
very interesting.
I digress. Here we go.
Mr. President, enough is enough. Innocent Americans are dying, and you only have yourself to blame. Fulfill your oath of office. Reverse your policies, end this crisis, and stop the suffering.
To which suffering is she referring to?
Well, so
is she talking about poverty? Is she talking about police violence?
Is
she talking about
what she was referring
the war
to?
On drugs?
She was talking about, she went to the border. And she told this story about going to the border, talking to a sex worker.
What did she say? She told a what?
Story.
Story.
Yes.
A tall tale.
A tall tale.
Yeah, she out here fibbing. You fibbing.
Definitely. And basically...
She was eating them Fib Newtons.
Terrible. That's terrible. So she talked about, I went to the border. I talked to this woman who was sex trafficked for the cartels at age 12, and she made it seem, and it also is weird how Republicans could talk about how like nightmarish and hellish America is, while also being at the same time patriotic. It's weird, right? Are you proud of America, or is America like a living hell you're trying like desperately to escape?
Well, I mean, that's like only the strong survive.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But this woman basically, and shout out to a freelance journalist named Jonathan Katz, found this woman, found out that this story did not happen in the United States, one.
Yeah.
Right.
It happened in between 2000 and 2008 when George W. Bush was president. Not that you can't even put that on Obama or Biden as vice president, right? He didn't become vice president until 2009. It didn't even happen in America. And now the woman whose story she told has came out and said, you misused my story. Yeah. She's been accused of lying. It's like again, they're throwing Biden just alley-oop after alley-oop.
This is like the nigga in season 5 of The Wire. Just like that, man.
I also want to say, because it wasn't even that this person like told her this story directly. They were on a panel together.
Yes.
Right.
And so this is a story that she's been like open about. And so framing it like, oh, this person came to me directly and we had this impassioned conversation, this intimate conversation.
Yes.
Just like, that's disgusting.
This woman's been telling this story since 2015. But to have the woman actually come out and say, you misused my story, it's like the ultimate, it's like, as bad as it was, just the heavy breathing.
Right, yeah.
You know, SNL did a parody of it that was hilarious. Like,
did they?
Oh, yes. And it was just
man,
like this, it was like immediately the worst response in the State of the Union. So again, it helps Biden again. It's like the Republicans are over and over again, like messing up.
It went from like the Democrats doing everything they could to lose this election to like now the Republicans are like, wait, we're not going to be outdone.
100%. And this is supposed to be an appeal to women.
Right,
like,
yeah.
We're going to put this one, we're going to try to scare these white women because that's what they're trying to do, right? We're going to scare you into voting for us with this story that ends up not even to be true. Miracle?
There's a couple of things. One, it is to scare these white women. Two, it is to create this idea of where women's place in American society are supposed to be. So in the kitchen, underneath your husband, below your kids, this is where you're supposed to be as a woman, as a working woman. So there is a visual representation and message that is being sent, right? Yeah. And it's also this idea of like, oh, she made a mistake. She didn't tell the truth. This is what happens when you have women in elected office. This is what happens when you have these women, these DEI, initiatives where these DEI employees. Look what happens, right? So I do think that obviously she did not write her own speech.
Correct.
Obviously she's reading from a teleprompter. So this went through many levels of
like checking
of review.
Who was her acting coach though? Because they did not do a good job.
They didn't, and I think that you could tell because she has a normal speaking voice.
Yes,
and you can look at before and afters. You can see her prior comments, and that's just not who she was. Like somebody said, like Congress is turning into like a second career for theater kids. Like all of these people from like George Santos.
Yes,
it's like why are y'all acting? Like what is going on, right? But we're seeing that, but it's also the evilness of white women's tears.
Oh,
yeah.
To sit there and lie and to say this
need some gunshots,
this
bro.
person of color, black or brown person.
We actually got one.
Is a threat to us, and we need to come together and to fight back and to pass these.
Most of us are moved by white tears because we don't actually think they're real.
And pass these legislations that's going to put people in prison because after the woman was killed at UGA, Georgia, my home state, passed the bill that basically said you can detain anyone you suspect of being an undocumented citizen.
Correct.
And if you get it wrong, you get it wrong. Like you have immunity. So basically, when we're talking about having how white women are being put on pedestals to evoke fear. We got to think of, Birth of a Nation, this idea that we always, rally around the idea of white women being harmed or white women being assaulted. And what does that mean locally and globally when we use it as a rallying cry to justify violence and harm for people?
No, that's a powerful, powerful statement. And then it's wild because on the flip side, like you're saying, like, oh, hey, white women, like America's dangerous and you could be sex trafficked and you could be attacked. But then your candidate is somebody that has been like sued like 20 to 30 times for sexual assault. He's on the record talking about grabbing women by their private areas. Which is crazy. That's had to get a insurance claim to, help him pay this $91 million bond that found him liable for rape. I mean, that's what it said. There was an interesting change with
the fact that you can have two different courts, one that would find someone liable for rape and one that would find someone guilty for rape, is a problem in and of itself.
True. But there's a clip where, and they're talking to
Nancy Mace,
who's basically talking about how scared it's like sexual assault, but then, we're going to have Donald Trump, like, what I'm saying, a serial assaulter as like the presidential nominee. Can you play that?
This morning, and you've endorsed Donald Trump for president. Judges and two separate juries have found him liable for rape and for defaming the victim of that rape. How do you square your endorsement of Donald Trump with the testimony we just saw?
Well, I will tell you, I was raped at the age of 16. And any rape victim will tell you, I've lived for 30 years with an incredible amount of shame over being raped. I didn't come forward because of that judgment and shame that I felt. And it's a shame that you will never feel, George. And I'm not going to sit here on your show and be asked a question meant to shame me about another potential rape victim. I'm not gonna do that.
It's actually not about shaming you. It's a question about Donald Trump.
No, you are shaming me.
You've endorsed Donald Trump for president.
Right.
Donald Trump has been found liable for rape by a jury. Donald Trump has been found liable for defaming the victim of that rape by a jury. It's been affirmed by a judge.
It was not a criminal court case, number one. Number two.
You said semantics.
I live with shame. And you're asking me a question about my political choices, trying to shame me as a rape victim, and I find it disgusting. And quite frankly, E. Jean Carroll's comments when she did get the judgment, joking about what she was going to buy, it makes it harder for women to come forward when they make a mockery out of rape, when they joke about it.
Doesn't it make it harder for women to come forward?
Wait, go ahead.
It
makes it harder when other women joke about it, and she's joked about it. I find it offensive, and I also find it offensive
when she
that you're
jokes
trying
about
to
it, but
shame
not
me.
when Trump jokes about it. So is this? And I'm coming to you, Miracle. Is this a fair line of questioning by Stenopolis to ask her, "Hey, you're somebody who's talking about, being a victim. However, this court said this about Donald Trump and you're supporting him. How do you justify that? Is that fair?"
It is a fair question because part of your political identity and you're talking about it. There is a way to broker those conversations. She even could have talked about the fact that Biden's been accused of sexual assault.
True.
She could have talked about how the majority of men in this country have been accused of either sexual assault, sexual violence.
Yeah.
And talked about, changing behavior. She could have talked about, I don't know if he's ever invested in whatever or the policies. But when she tried to personalize it, that again is that weaponization that people,
white women are good at? Is that what you're going to say?
I'm trying to temper. Listen, I'm trying to temper the responses.
Yes.
But that you see that in real time. He didn't say, how could you as a rape victim?
Right.
He didn't, nothing. He said, hey, listen, this man that you're advocating for has this past. How are you reconciling your past and his past with your endorsement? And it could have been a really good conversation.
Yeah.
True.
But again, she turned around and tried to weaponize her pain.
Right.
And he was like, bro, I didn't say that. And you're not
Most
going
of us
to
are
do that.
moved by white tears because we don't actually think they're real.
Right.
But
Jazz, did you have a comment on that?
I think that's the problem is that she hasn't reconciled that.
Right.
I think we were kind of talking about this beforehand, is that I think it's her internal voice calling out that hypocrisy that she hasn't necessarily confronted because she's more protective of her whiteness than she is of her identity as a woman, and knowing that the power that comes with proximity to whiteness, and the power that comes in proximity to this conservative movement, I think she's more protective of that. And so I think just the ways in which she's invalidating these other victims of sexual assault, that they can't express or they can't navigate the trauma that they've experienced in the way that if she doesn't approve of it, then that means that they as victims aren't valid. And I think that's incredibly disgusting, that she could even make that assertion that, like, oh, if a victim decides to quote unquote joke about what they've gone through, that somehow means that they're less of a victim.
Right. And again, it's like you're representing this party where you just had in North Carolina, the person who wins the GOP that's going to be on the GOP ticket, I'm going to put air quotes, black man, right? Air quotes. Named Mark Robinson.
Why you got to remind me of my condition, Desiree? Every year I get blacker and darker and blacker and darker.
But Mark Robinson is on record as saying he wants to go back to the America where women couldn't vote.
Which is
and
crazy.
Again, this is somebody that is a rep. So again, it's like that's the other piece. Is like you had a comment on that?
It's like a Dr. Umar masterclass.
Oh shit! Oh wow!
Is Dr. Umar a Holocaust denier too?
Listen,
You called him Hotep. You called him Mark Hotep Robinson.
But we've talked a lot about how white supremacy has been ensnaring men of color, particularly black men, Latino men, and Asian men, with this idea that if the world perceives them as men, they would be able to be out here dominating women again.
Right.
And we're seeing this all across the board where we're talking about women should not have rights.
Yes.
Women shouldn't be in the home. Women should not be voting. Women should not be working. And it's because women have upset this natural order, that the world is in chaos.
Yeah.
And that is what he is speaking to. And we haven't really delved into how psychotic and actually violent this movement is for women in general.
Right.
Because we talk a lot about reproductive freedoms, but they're talking about ending no-fault divorce. They're talking about taking away reproductive rights. They're talking about going back into time where you can't vote, so women we can't have the right to travel. We can't have our own birth certificates, our own passports, our own bank accounts.
Yeah.
It's just it literally is wild to talk to women who are born and watch the 70s and 80s and 90s happen and finally get to the point where you're able to just live and make a living for yourself, to now watch in reality as all of the rights that you saw and won are getting stripped away bit by bit. It's just fascinating in a negative way.
Right. And not only that, but you're seeing in many cases a predominant the predominant number of white women voting for the Republican Party, right? It was I know before, I think it was more than 50% of white women voting for politicians that are saying, this, Mark Robinson he's going to be the GOP person on the ticket. He might be the next governor of North Carolina. And it's and there will be women, and probably more so white women, that are going to vote to put him in office. What do you say to somebody like that?
So,
I
was trying to Google the
Don't
quote.
ask me.
But Susan B. Anthony was someone who was talking about I think the quote is she'd rather cut her hand before a black man would get to vote, right?
Yeah.
So this is just the legacy of this country, and
white feminism,
and we try to lie and pretend our way into this idea that we're in this post-racial era, and we were always in this post-racial era.
Right.
But these folks do not like us.
Yeah.
And when we accept that, I think our organizing changes. But white women have historically worked within the Klan, have historically, I can't think of the lady's name right now, who in the 80s, she was working to make sure queer people could not get access to HIV and AIDS treatment.
Yeah.
There's always been a white woman who's been in the face of a conservative movement.
Tipper Gore, who attacked hip hop, very, viscerally.
I think, Phyllis Schlafly is one of the most vile
Yes.
In that regard, yeah.
You know, and so it's always happened. Like after the Civil War, you know, white women became homeowners and landowners, not because of feminism, but because they were able to keep the land, the plantations in their family, because it no longer passed through the man, it passed through the woman. Right. And then they just married a former slave owner to keep the legacy and the money and the land within the families. So we've always tricked ourselves into believing that white women are fragile. Yeah. And I always go back to how Robin DiAngelo said we think of the fragility as fragile like glass, not fragile like a bomb. Wow. And we're always wanting to like call on the whole, but like they're trying to kill you, bro. Yeah. And you gotta understand that when they talk about you're a threat to them, they mean that literally.
They mean that literally. So now apparently we are a threat to old black people. I don't know what it is. Old black people want nothing to do with us and our podcast, according to our blackmail. So our blackmail today came from a YouTube comment, right? And it's so funny because the first sentence...
I'm surprised it didn't come from a typewriter.
See, look,
that's why the old black people are mad at us.
I'm here for it. I'm here for it.
The first sentence says, I am going to do my best at keeping my comment respectful. Ooh. And it goes,
let the chopper slide, friend.
Totally off the rails. Yeah. First, as an African-American retired classroom teacher and senior citizen.
That's regrettable. But
hey, free speech. We're going to talk about where y'all broadcast.
Yeah.
Please stop broadcasting these nurses. She said, I am disgusted by the comments the three of you made when discussing age. I personally know senior citizens who are 100 years old.
Of course you do, because that's all.
Stop. Okay. Stop. Okay. Let her go. Stop. Stop.
Oh my God. I personally know senior citizens who are 100 years old and older.
Mm-hmm. Damn.
Who have brains that function better than our younger generation. So come on now.
Yeah, I mean, we're just telling lies. Now we're just gonna lie on a Tuesday. Okay.
Addiction. Maybe she's making some points.
Turn your cell phone on these over 100 persons and let's see. Right? We can play Jeopardy right now.
Yes.
Stop. Please. Okay. So all right. Hold on. This is to you. Please inform Miracle this fact.
Okay.
She
has smoke.
Come on, let me know what it is.
Trump was is in all caps, impeached twice. Okay. I don't know if you just said he wasn't impeached, but
I said and convicted, but continue.
Yes, you did say and convicted. However, the Senate voted not to convict him twice. So Miracle's statement regarding Trump and impeachment was 100% incorrect. Sounds like you were 100% correct because you talked about him not being convicted.
Yeah.
Two-part process, but continue.
So she says, I have watched the four of you since the inception of This Week in White Supremacy. I understand your need for humor, but your show often
Again with this.
Sounds way.
Like Amos and Andy. From years ago.
Why is that the reference?
Because they're 100 years old.
Yeah, because they have no other reference point.
Watch TV.
No, I think that's all.
Didn't you see A Living Color where you're wrong with Keenan Ivory Wayans was on TV? Sanford and Son?
Right? Something. You know what I mean?
The fact that that's been the reference twice is...
It's crazy.
That's disturbing.
But they were both from like 80-year-old black people. We black folks didn't see that show as funny then and don't hear the humor when you compare Trump to Biden. I lived through the civil rights movement, which is why I believe nothing is funny about this up-and-coming election. Well, you're watching the wrong show because this shit is hilarious. Right. To us. You know what I'm saying? We do have choices, 78-year-old Trump and 81-year-old Biden, which is why our issue is...
We need...
Those
younger.
Shouldn't be the choices.
We need fresh blood.
Stop.
Not coagulated prune juice in veins. Sounds like she was typing this and she was like, oil can.
Stop it for real.
Recently, hold on. She's not done. Recently,
which is a shame.
Because
you don't have much time left. Yeah, you're typing this. Like, go do something constructive with your loved ones.
You gonna see they're gonna pull up to the office. They don't.
Oh my God! We gonna be like,
thought you was a boxer.
We gonna go outside and be like,
they got nothing but time on their hands.
We're gonna be like,
nothing but time, and it's running short.
We're gonna look outside, see a bus pull up.
Borrowed time, Jasmine. That's what they have. Borrowed time.
We're gonna be like,
they have strength. Okay, old folks can fight.
The Denny's is down the street. If you're looking for the Denny's,
listen,
we don't have a Denny's inside this office.
They got tapioca and bridge down there. You know.
Hold up. Recently, I shared your show with a group of my senior citizen friends.
Oh, that's a mistake. That was a mistake.
They asked me to change the channel. Wow.
Put on Matlock.
Oh my God.
Put on Murder, She Wrote.
Turned off the bold and the beautiful
on
for
the
this.
heat of the night. Yo,
this is crazy.
They about to go from General Hospital to General Hospice. Like, they need to chill.
So she brought some smoke to me. The Siri X, I followed you in your work since the Gina 6 protest that happened in Gina, Louisiana. I'm saddened watching your shenanigans on this show.
Oh my God, you disappointed a fan, bro.
Wait, she said I was an A1 since
she was the day one supporter, and this is in all caps. Now I don't know what she talks about, but she says "and" in all caps. That sound effect is also sickening.
rude.
Look, then she says, I hope my comments were stated respectfully.
Oh my God. Oh, I needed that.
Barbara, you know, we tried. We've said this
Barbara,
before.
you should probably skip this episode.
Yeah, skip this episode, Barbara. Well, Barbara, I mean, like, we laugh to keep from crying. We try to bring
again, like
joy.
Miracle said this last week. Why is the fact that we laugh at this stuff,
oh my God,
or that we find humor so upsetting to you?
I think, I think older black people have this idea. It's like, what did all this seriousness get y'all?
Right, yeah. You left us with all of your shit to clean up.
Look at where we are, right? White people stormed the Capitol 3 years ago. What are we talking about here?
Yeah, like, you know what I mean?
I'm saying? Like, what are we talking about? Like, that
we literally have a presidential candidate going to sneaker conventions, trying to pawn, like, he's trying to relate to young people.
Yes.
Like, whether you agree with it or not. Joe Biden is on TikTok.
Yes.
Write a letter to the Oval Office expressing your disapproval for that.
Yes.
Right? Like, talk to these people your age about why you lost your sense of humor with your teeth.
You know what?
Miracle?
I think that if you
comment?
have lived through the civil rights movement,
yes,
then you lived through Biden being against busing,
yes,
then you lived through Biden saying that segregationists are his friends,
yes,
then you lived through Trump discriminating against black businesses, you lived through Trump.
Strom Thurmond.
Let me finish.
I'm sorry.
You lived through Trump refusing to pay his black and brown workers. You lived through a lot. And what we are saying is, as people who are directly impacted by these policies, as people who are directly targeted by these policies, as people who have to live under the rules and regulations of these policies, we deserve a different process. We deserve different representation. And because we do not have that right now, we have a right to push and advocate for the issues and the policies that allow our communities to have liberation. And so when we call out someone for the harm that they are doing, we are holding them accountable. When we tell people that you are harming a community, we are holding them accountable with the hopes that they do better. And we're telling them what you are doing, you're not doing enough. We're doing it because we need them to do more, because we know they are capable of doing more and they're able to do more. And so that is what we're doing on this platform. You may not like it, but I can tell you every time I have said something, I have gotten a follow-up of why do you believe that and how can we change? These are small wins that we're having for our communities, but it's not enough until every day we can wake up and we can know that we got this right because somebody hasn't died today of gun violence, of war, of famine, of sickness and disease. And so that is why we are doing this, and that is why we're pushing, and so we're going to continue to build in the ways we have, brick by brick, wall by wall. We will build this freedom for all of us.
But also, it's like, it's forgetting that this is a democratic process. Like, this is supposed to be a dialectical dialectical conversation where we're asking our representatives to actually stand up and defend the things that matter most to us. So it's like, why is it, and I've had this conversation so many times where it's like, oh, we can't question, we can't push back, like we can't stand up for ourselves. And it's like, I don't understand why people get so afraid. Like, it doesn't mean that like, I'm not going to vote for this person at the end, like whenever it gets to the national election, but I have the right to have the conversation in the first place.
Absolutely.
I just don't understand.
And
I
think two things. I think also with older black people, they were the generation where like a black person had to be like perfect.
Yep.
In order to like achieve, so it's very much about like you being this perfect representation of blackness. In
this
order to
NAACP Urban League
right.
idea,
you had to
like
put the suit on.
Blackness, yeah.
We had to speak very articulately. We had to do this, and so like when hip hop comes, it's almost like a smack in the face.
Absolutely.
To that generation and it was really just the circumstances that they were brought up into, where they felt like, and in many cases they had to be like this perfect representation. They had to do it twice as on the like they would be twice as good, 3 times as good. So I get that understanding. We're not concerned with that. No. We don't want inclusion in a lot of these cases. Inclusion Correct. Into what? A system that is going to continue to oppress us and take away our choices, take away our freedoms. In most cases, like you said, you lived through Biden and the crime bill. Like you lived through mass incarceration, not working for our community, but coming back in places like New York and DC, led by black faces, wanting to re-incarcerate our community and our people. And so we reject that. And so again, like we're a younger generation and we want to do things in our own way. And so, yeah, we're going to come on here. We're going to talk our shit. We're going to tell our jokes. We're going to also have intelligent communication. And just like you were comfortable critiquing us, right? Because you don't see us as people with power, right?
That's a fact.
So you're comfortable critiquing. Well, we are looking at these individuals in power, and we're going to continue to be comfortable critiquing them, calling out the bullshit that they do, because we're not intimidated by them and their titles or whatever we are. And you know what else we're going to continue to do?
I can't.
Why?
I was on one.
Go ahead and finish.
We're going to continue to organize people in our community, in Pittsburgh, in Allegheny County, in the Mon Valley, organizing them and encouraging them to vote. This is why in Pittsburgh we have a black mayor, even though we're 20% of the population. This is why we elected the first black congresswoman in Congress in Pennsylvania history in this region. This is why our civic engagement director is now a city council person, because of the way we're organizing around civic engagement and voting here. So again, we're laughing and joking, but what we don't need is a breakdown of like how to vote or how to do things. Miracle's a lawyer. Like, she's laughing and she's joking. Come on, get out of here. This Esquire, she done went to school. Like, no disrespect, but I'll put Miracle up against any 100-year-old woman.
Wait, I ain't trying to fight nobody.
Or man. In terms of like,
we're not talking violence.
In terms of like mental cognitive tests and practices. So again, thank you. Please continue.
Don't have them take the Donald Trump, what was it, the TV horse?
Oh my God. But please continue. One, I need y'all to please continue to do things. Please continue to write us, to email us.
Oh yes, we love it.
the1hood.org. It's the number one. info@the1hood.org. Continue to leave comments on our YouTube pages as well. We like to discuss them and continue to support One Hood either by donations when you go to onehood.org. That's the number one. Not O-N-E, the number onehood.org. Continue to donate to us, but also continue to buy merchandise. Shout out to all the people that buy merchandise, and shout out to Yes, but the One Hood merchandise. And shout out to Ellen Gold, who said, Jasiri Farouk, Trouble Miracle, I'm writing to let you know I look forward to watching your program on free speech every week. I find it very educational and interesting as well as entertaining. I would recommend that everyone from the White House, the Senate, and all Congress critters, I love that, watch it too. Please keep up with the good work and know that you are appreciated. Best regards, Ellen Gold. You know what I'm saying? She said she's our Silicon Valley connection. Thank you, Ellen.
May I say just a final retort?
Yes.
Hey, Barbara. I was a classroom teacher also.
Yes.
I taught English.
Yes.
Have a Coke and a smile.
God. Anyway, so with that being said, we have did you want to introduce our white pages today? Because you were just at Uncle Bobby's bookstore.
I was at Uncle Bobby's bookstore. Shout out. Book saved my life for the sweatshirt.
Yes.
This book is Except for Palestine by Mark Lamont Hill and Mitchell Plitnick. We know we love Mark Lamont Hill, amazing Pennsylvania Philly legend. He wrote this book talking about how people are progressive and willing to fight for people except for Palestine. And it's a really just book to help you rethink the ways in which you show up for communities that you've been told that are a danger or a threat to you or someone you can't talk about or learn about. It's a really good book, and that is our white pages for today, as well as Seeds.
Oh, Scene.
Yes,
Yep.
Scene.
Yeah.
By our good family. Speaking of Philly legend, the legendary film festival, Black Star Film Festival. Shout out to Maori. I was just with her in Story Movements in D.C. and the great work that Black Star Film Festival does. This is the magazine they publish. I think it's bi-yearly called Scene.
Biannually.
Biannually,
Yeah, they do
right.
biannually,
And our
yeah.
brother, Coleman Domingo, although he didn't win the Oscar, shout out to him for being, representing black people and Latino folks as a nominee for Best Actor. Shout out to the brother that won for American Fiction. Best Adapted Screenplay. What is that man's name? Cord, I believe is his name. Shout out to him. Cord Jefferson. Shout out to him for winning an Oscar as well. And the sister that won for The Leftovers. Devon, that sister as well. Shout out to, all the black people. We like Issa Rae. We vote for all the black people. With that being said, there's probably a lot of stuff happening in One Hood. Just go to One Hood, our social media, One Hood Media on Instagram, One Hood Media on Facebook, One Hood on X or Twitter. We got the People, Politics, and Power Academy starting, and just a lot happening at One Hood. So holla at us. We'll see y'all next week. Jazz, what'd you think?
This was great.
You said 2 words that I had to Google. So you brought a higher level of intellect to the show. We appreciate that as you balance, some of our immature and silliness. Till next time, we'll see y'all. Peace. One Hood, y'all.